bisschen Nageln.
And welcome back. This is KTCR. That's Kill the Cat Radio to you. We are so happy to introduce Season 2, Episode 1 of this fine little radio station we've got here in Brooklyn. We're here to interview only local celebrities. If you're famous, hell, you probably already have an agent. You probably already have a manager. You don't need us, but I need you, because that's what we're about. Curiosity. That's what killed the cat. And satisfaction brought it back. And speaking of satisfaction, I truly love, revere, and completely disagree with my next guest. Okay, maybe not always. We have many similar values. I could talk to her forever. We disagree, and nobody gets mad at each other. Now that's American. That's how we should be in this country. We have to agree to disagree. But this week's guest, Chico, yes, that's a pseudonym. I'm honored to have Chico to be our opener of Season 2. So sit back, put your feet up, and listen to us argue about politics, documentary film, the history of gay culture, her hatred of Hemingway, our mutual love of literature, lots of conspiracy theories, and a whole bunch of laughter for apparently no reason. So without further ado, I want you all to meet Chico. I hope you enjoy listening to her as much as I do over a drink. Let's get it started.
Well, Chico the Mayor
Chico the Mayor.
Is actually, it was started out as Chico Juarez, which was some... there was a ladies' arm wrestling match.
Okay.
That a friend put on
Yeah.
at a very small bar, rather illegally.
Okay. Sounds like
And
ladies arm wrestling. Perfect. All right. Illegal. Great.
and so
Let's do this.
a friend of mine wanted to enter, and so I got her a lucha libre mask. And
Oh, like one of the wrestling masks.
yes, and I came as her manager, Chico Juarez.
So that's where
where
so it was
Chico
like a
was
Chico
born.
Juarez coming in. Okay. All right.
Chico had a little, a blunt and a little fuzzy hat and,
Nice.
a little mustache, shades.
Like my little.
Better than your mustache.
Well, I'm growing it out.
Well, maybe we'll get
It's
there.
gonna take time. It's gonna
Yeah.
take time.
And so we were betting around the table. Like, I'm taking bets. I'm $20 on La Loca, $20 on La Loca.
So wait, you were kind of her bookie too, kind of.
Oh,
like,
fuck yeah. We made so much money. We made so much money.
So let me just
And
get
then-
this straight.
and then-
You're American, right?
Yes.
Chico. All right. So you're American, but your name is Chico Juarez, and you started in illegal arm wrestling.
No, I was just that's where Chico was born.
You didn't start any of this.
No, a friend of mine did
these
it,
nefarious activities.
and the girl that I was, managing that night went on to win the national championship.
No shit.
Of his club. I mean, of
Yeah.
his illegal bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went on to win in San
Oh
Francisco.
fuck yeah, that's awesome. Wait, what year was this? How far
This
does
had to
go
be
back
like
to?
2006.
Okay, all right, so it goes
2006,
back.
2007, yeah. Probably 2007.
And that's exactly when I met you.
Yeah.
I just got in from New Orleans and then walked into that bar.
Yeah, same bar.
But the same bar? Wait,
Same bar,
Oh,
same
okay.
bar.
Oh, okay, all right. I wasn't even
Under
sure if
one
you're-
single bulb in that back area.
Right.
And people crowded
Oh,
around,
that's
like standing
fantastic.
on fucking chairs
That's
screaming.
so fun. That's so fun.
Matt was flipping the fuck out.
No, Matt was kind of like, Matt, again, God bless Matt. Wherever you are, God bless you. I know you're probably like owning other bars. I don't know what he's doing.
Many other bars.
I'm sure he was an entrepreneur, but this place, what was the name of the place again?
Oh, do we? It's gone now.
Yeah, I know. We can name it. We're going to give it props.
All right. Well, the soft spot.
The Soft Spot. Think about it. First of all, what a great bar name. Let's just call that. The only thing I did have beef with Soft Spot, though, can I go into this real
Go
quick?
right
Just as a
ahead.
drinker, because I think my audience knows I'm a drinker. They gave the mini beers and the mini shot. So if you're like a shot of beer person, you're like,
Yeah.
$6. That's great. It's really like...
Well, it was
like,
$5 for a long time.
But still, it's like a half a beer and then a small one of those 1 ounce.
All right. You're also a bartender.
I know. Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm a little...
Yeah.
funny
And
about it.
this was a cash bar,
It was a cash bar,
so
so that's awesome.
they made money on that deal, and
I'm sure
that's
they
one of
did.
the places where they made money.
One of my few criticisms.
And like all the pizza guys would come in
Yeah.
and order that
Yeah.
over and over and over again. But you don't want whiskey drinkers drinking so much beer?
Well, okay. Why?
Because they puke. Because they
Suddenly
puke.
I was like,
they puke everywhere.
no, amateurs puke everywhere. Okay, if you
Well,
just you could give
all right.
you could give someone who doesn't drink
This
a shot
brings
of
us
tequila,
into
and
this
then they'll
brings us
puke
into the
everywhere.
level of the bar clientele on Bedford Avenue back in the day.
It's pretty much the same thing now.
Yeah, bunch of fucking amateurs.
That's what it is now. So Chico, when did you start drinking at this bar?
2006.
Okay, so you and I kind of approached. So you weren't, but when I walked in, you seemed like you were a regular.
I already was because you were like 2007. I mean, this was like when
That's
I
true, actually.
first
Yeah.
moved to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I went into Matchless.
Right. That was where I first got my first shot in Brooklyn. George.
Yeah, George.
Love you,
Shots!
George.
Shots.
George.
Yeah, got to stay away from George. George is dangerous.
I love George.
I love George too, but I don't love shots. I don't love shots.
Why not? What's wrong with it? What happens with Chico? What happens when
I don't. I hit
Shit
people.
gets weird.
I hit people.
You do not hit
I
people.
do hit people.
Chico, I've known you for a long time.
Have
I
you ever
never
seen-
you? I have never seen you be rude or have a foul word or what have you to someone's face.
To someone's face, exactly. But you've also never seen me drink whiskey.
But I've never seen. I don't. It would break my heart if I knew that you had this side to you.
What? No, they don't let me have whiskey. No.
I mean, I could definitely see. All right, no, I could definitely see, and this is why I brought you on the program.
And it's not out of anger.
No, I understand, but I brought you on the program because I could. I don't want to say it. I think one of the words I could say is confrontational. I could see you becoming that if you had a lot of hard alcohol. But I can't see violence. I don't see it. I just don't.
It's not. Well, all right. To be fair,
Yeah.
the first time it happened, well, not the first time it happened, but the first time it happened in
New
this
York City.
in this neighborhood, and because I don't normally drink whiskey.
Okay.
I'm at, I guess the Gibson.
Can I have one of these? I'll
Yeah.
give you $1 for each one, then we can take
Sweet.
a break and go buy more. Yeah, come on. You know, this is we're an expensive
Making
program
money.
here, KTC.
Making
There's
money.
a lot of money over here. We're rich over here.
But Aaron had given us a bunch of shots.
Okay.
And it was obviously arguing over some stupid Wii game or
And you
some
were arguing.
bullshit.
You were arguing with.
I was arguing with some chump. Some little,
just look it up, guys.
some
Look
some
it up
little
in the
dough
dictionary.
boy. You know,
Doughboy.
he's a little taller than me, but you know, pasty and you could tell.
Why is he arguing with you though? That's the weird.
Because he's like, his partner is kicking our ass. He's doing fuck all.
In what? In what?
In some Wii game, Wii
What is a
bowling,
Wii?
or
You guys are
something.
playing video games, and then there's a fight.
And then there's.
And this is at
it's
a
not
bar?
a fight. It's not a fight.
But it's at a bar.
It's at a bar.
Okay, this is
And
crazy.
and to be fair, the guy, I'm like, why don't you just be quiet? I mean, your partner is doing this. Why don't you
Chico
keep
rolls
your
in,
mouth
just
shut?
trying to keep a little.
You know, and he's like, well, you don't like it. Why don't you hit me? And I had
that's
absolutely no reason not to. And the whiskey removes that buffer that, keeps me from hitting people.
Yeah, but every alcohol is like that. Every alcohol is like a buffer that keep. I'm sorry. If you drink alcohol, that takes away people's normal social whatever
Inhibitions,
graces,
I guess, is what they
inhibitions,
call them. But yes, no,
But,
I drink beer.
to you, do you think alcohol, like different alcohols, affect different people?
Different ways, yeah.
So it's probably just a matter of genetics or whatever.
It's a matter of whiskey and genetics. I come from a long line of whiskey drinkers.
So I'm guessing you're Irish. No offense against my Irish listeners. You know what I'm talking about. Don't even play that you don't.
Long line of alcoholics.
No, but the background? What is Irish?
both
background?
sides.
You got Irish background?
Scots Irish, and then whatever mixture of whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, one side of my family definitely came here in the 1700s,
Okay.
like into the colony of Georgia
Oh, really?
as
Another
as
Georgia?
indentured servant. As an indentured
okay,
servant,
so you were not
when they
welcome.
emptied out the debtors' prisons in England and Ireland.
Oh, see, that's a lot. That history, a lot of people don't know about that. They just dumped a lot of criminals and what have you, or just people who couldn't pay,
In
and
the
they're
South,
Like, you know what?
in
Go
the
ahead.
South, and it makes perfect sense if you look at what's happened.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like the South. We'll get into the South later. Again, this program is Does not advocate.
My people, my people. Yeah.
It's all right. So this wee guy.
So anyway, so he's in my face, and he says, "Why don't you hit me?" And we're standing really close together, too close for me to punch him.
Right.
So I hit him kind of gently with a rising elbow.
Yeah. Wait, because he was too close. He
was close.
So you couldn't do a full extent.
I couldn't punch him. So I
you
just
went up.
I just did a rising elbow like that.
Was it? Did it just come out of you like you were just?
I've
never seen you like this.
He
just
said.
for our audience.
He said,
I've
"Why
never
don't you
seen
hit me,
Chico?" Like,
and
this.
I could not find a reason not to, so I did.
Wow, but hard.
Not
Like
too
hard,
hard,
or just kind of like a funny.
Well, a little smack,
Like a touchy touch.
No, a little touchier than a touchy touch.
A little.
I didn't.
How you doing?
I didn't.
Pardon me.
I didn't do the rising elbow aiming at the back of his head. I did the rising elbow aiming at his chin. So
it's like the casual shoulder check you'll give somebody in Times Square. You know what I mean? If they, if somebody's like getting weird, they're not. Like it's a little.
No, it was harder than that. It was enough to get his attention.
So it wasn't a touch. It was a touch.
It was a touch like
Third.
fuck with me, motherfucker. Come on, let's go.
And for the record, Chico, it's slight. All right, so we're not talking about Chico's not 6'11" right now. All right, we're talking about giant here.
No, tiny.
Tiny, right?
But
not tiny, but
what the guy did was he went and cried to the bartender. She hit me.
Of course.
And we
Who was the bartender at that time?
Aaron, I think.
Who was Aaron again? Oh, the tall
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Aaron set us at opposite ends of the bar.
So it was like preschool.
Yeah, it was like preschool. It was
adult
very
education.
much like preschool.
It's adult education bars.
Yeah.
It's just to keep you over there. But then I came in and I guess you already had a reputation apparently, like when you were there. Because you seemed like you knew everybody.
Yeah, when I first started going there, I had gone to Matchless. I met Kate working at Matchless.
Kate's awesome.
There was a sign for a drunken spelling bee at Matchless, which I thought was an utterly demented idea.
Perfect.
And I must participate.
Yeah, you got to get in there.
But again, I don't drink whiskey. I don't drink hard alcohol.
Right.
But I met Matt, the owner of Soft Spot, that night.
Yeah, Soft Spot.
And soft spot. It's gone now. Sorry, folks.
R.I.P. Sons and daughters.
Yeah. And so he was drinking the Baby Buds and a shot.
Yeah.
And they gave me drink tickets for Baby Buds. And I'm like, I'm never drinking that crap.
Yeah, what is this?
So I said, do you want these? And he's like, okay. And he said, I'll root for you. And I'm like, cool.
All right,
excellent.
All right, okay.
And then he, proceeded to tell me that he just opened a bar on Bedford Avenue.
There it was, and that's how.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, and there you were.
Well, the other part is that I was drinking whiskey at the spelling bee. And whiskey makes me paranoid, evidently.
Really?
Because they gave me the word rutabaga, and I thought they were trying to trick me, and that I should spell something harder, so I spelled rhubarb.
Rutabaga. I don't even know if I can spell that, and I can't spell that.
It's just like it sounds.
R-H.
It's R.
No, there's an H somewhere in there.
No. It's a root vegetable. It's RUDEBEGA. Or R-U-T.
Why am I thinking it? I'm thinking rheumatism.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
See,
that's
I
how
might,
you know
I,
I'm in my mid. That's how you know I'm getting older.
Well,
I'm thinking rheumatism.
I thought there was an H, so I spelled rhubarb because I thought it was harder and that they were trying to trick me.
Right.
So then I show up over there, and Matt and I have something to laugh about.
Yeah.
And he was a very good bartender.
Oh no, Matt was class.
Yeah. He
good-looking guy.
And he did this thing where and at the beginning there were only 2 or 3 of us in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I met Scott and I met Chul and I met, some other people, but there weren't that many people there. And so it
was a new spot.
He would introduce people to the person sitting next to them so they could have a conversation.
I do the same shit because that is what you do. You got a bunch of people drinking the same place. You want them to,
And it became a well-known conversational bar. And then in the age of internet dating, it became an internet dating spot.
Oh, right, yeah, because you could always see.
You could always see them
knew
looking
when it was
around.
like a Tinder thing or something.
Yeah.
Or, at least the Grindr folks had the better intentions of just going to their house.
Yes. Or to the park.
Apparently
or
straight people
the
still
fuck.
need to talk first.
Yeah, well.
What's that about? No, but
That's a good question.
yeah, we'll get to that eventually too. We've got plenty of topics. So then I roll in there. So yeah, I remember just feeling like when I met you, I was like, okay, all right. And I remember you being hunched. And I think I was probably hunched further.
Well, you
'cause
know
I
there was a
writing.
mat vortex outside the door.
Right, there was like 5 mats that were hanging out there.
At least.
It was
At
like
least.
a mat.
But there was that weird, like, tempera paint drawing outside the front door to begin with, in orange and with the little spots. And I'm pretty sure that was the Matt Vortex, because I knew no Matts before I came to that bar.
Because I remember there was Matt the painter. I know it was Matt the bar
there's
owner.
Crimmins,
It was me.
Diabate, Weber, Oshel, the guy that does the takedowns, the cooking takedowns, his partner, Matt the Rat, it's like so many Matts. Like,
That is crazy that there's so many Matthews.
I remember meeting
in an environment you could guess the guy's name who's going to walk in.
I remember meeting a guy there one night, and I'm like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Matt," and I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna have to do better."
Just say
There's
something.
just too many
just
of them.
Tell me something
Photos,
different.
there's so many of them.
Tell me something different. Let me get you another beer. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm keeping it recording too. Don't worry.
All right.
Do you remember? Do you remember the first time meeting me?
I remember we met.
Yeah. What was that?
What I remember is we were talking, and you're like, "I'm a writer." I'm a writer. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cool."
Yeah.
I'm like, "I've got a story," and you're like, "Yeah, everybody's got a story."
Even a cynic, even then.
And you're like, "Okay, all right, whatever. Tell me your fucking story."
I remember this.
And I told you the fucking story, and then the next day you called me, and you're like, "That's actually a good story."
I was blown away. Blown away. I don't think we should talk too much on this about it, but you could if you want.
But that's the night we met.
Yeah. And so we immediately started talking about writing.
Yeah,
That was the first.
yeah.
So we can, and then there was tons of other artist types there too.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of musicians back then. It was bartender / metal band.
So it'd be like musicians, writers, painters, because Matt the painter,
Some dancers.
dancers.
Oh, and Leah was a poet
See,
at that
we had
point.
poet, right? Right, Leah, right. She was a poet.
At that point, she later became a nurse.
And then same thing. Just trying uselessly attempt
Well,
to put the Band-Aid on the world.
I read her poems, and I asked her, I'm like, all your poems seem to be about death and spring, and she's like, that's all any poem is ever about.
She's not wrong on this.
She's not wrong.
Sex and death, guys. Sex and death. That's all it is. I remember Leah. I remember having a crush on her, but she was too tall. I remember that.
Yeah, she's nice though.
She's awesome. What are you talking about? Like, that's my insecurity.
Yeah.
And I'm 5'11". She
Yeah.
must have been what, like maybe 6?
She was 6'1".
Right. And so, beautiful woman. So here you are. Now you're meeting another Matt, another artist.
Yeah.
And then you had this idea, like, have you been having basically creative movie ideas for a long time or just creative story ideas for a long time?
I have a background in documentary.
Documentary film.
Yeah, but I actually, the story that I told you came to me in a dream.
So that was one of the first ones that ever come out. Did you ever sketch anything like maybe keep a journal when you were younger? Like any of that
various and sundry times, but all that stuff is whining.
stuff? Is what?
Most of the journal stuff is whining from when you're
Whining.
young. It doesn't really
So
have
basically,
form.
there's not like a real there's not like a real
Yeah, you might get a line or
like, I
two
want a
that's
poem,
useful, but
really you're just like, Dad sucks, Mom.
yeah.
Why do we have to even pay for food?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
food should be for
understand why
everybody.
my girlfriend does this.
Why does she do this to me? All right, so you had those. You had some whining journals. Maybe something interesting was going on in there.
Yeah, but like I said, documentary film, and so there's a lot of
How'd you stumble into that? It's not. I mean, that's hard.
you don't stumble into documentary. You
Tell me what you did. How'd you get into it?
Well, a friend of mine found a dog, and then she was walking the dog in the East River, and then she found a filmmaker with a dog, and the filmmaker was looking for an assistant for a film that she was working on. And so my friend suggested me. I met the woman. I became her assistant director.
Wow, awesome.
And we went upstate and shot. Because I'd been doing the adult education at Tisch
Okay.
for film. Because I tried going to college
Right,
several
that's what I was
times
saying.
in photography and film and
That's what I
art
was trying to get
history
at.
and
Like,
stuff.
there's always a background kind of like to that sort of thing.
But I always wanted to make movies.
Yeah.
And then I just fell in love with documentary. I think I saw Frederick Weissman, Titicut Follies, especially Law and Order, the one on Kansas City Police Department.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, his Cinema Verite documentaries were just like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And then, various times, like one of the... So I've seen a lot of documentary. I've worked on a
something
lot.
about that genre just pulled you in when you were younger, and you're like, I need to be somehow involved in this.
Well, because I think that you have to remember films over the last since the 70s and 80s, film has become more of a commodity and more of a formulaic money maker.
Yeah.
And that's disgusting.
Yeah. So basically, it just turned into a product.
It turned into the same product over and over.
Yeah. Not all films, but
well,
I
once
guess
you started,
the majority.
Once you started getting Jaws 1, Jaws 2, Jaws 3, once it started becoming sequel after sequel after sequel, where's your originality?
Right. No,
and there were good films being
Absolutely.
made all during that time, just most of them weren't being made here.
Right, you're saying like the European, Asian market, South American,
well,
Central American.
film has
Indian
the
market.
potential to be the most powerful medium.
Yeah, because it has everything we need, right?
Well, it encompasses literature, it encompasses music, it encompasses stage arts, it encompasses art and photography and the scene design. It's every art form in one.
And on the receiving end as well, because when you're watching it, you are in a dark room, so everything's affecting your eyes, it's affecting your ears, it's affecting your subconscious. You're in the moment of this.
Well, they say that JFK invented the 60-second soundbite.
Oh no,
that's a fucking lie. It was Goebbels.
Well,
it was
we'll
Goebbels.
Get to Nazis a little bit.
It was Goebbels.
Just kidding.
And at the time when like Triumph of the Will came out,
right.
and it's on the huge screen, cinema is new.
Yeah.
Cinema that big is new. It's like 10 years old.
Yeah.
15 maybe.
Birth of the Nation was in the 20s, but it was no
Birth
sound.
Birth of a
no
Nation
sound.
was 1915, but it had a live orchestra playing Ride of the
music.
Valkyries.
Right. Exactly. And but didn't have, like you said, the full.
Well, it was the first.
experiential-
It was the first feature-length film to create mise en scène or montages and put sequences together in a feature-length film. And then it was like based on a racist novel and shown to the racist Supreme Court and created, national fervor, but it was 4 hours fucking long.
People were going to see it, but first of all, we're talking about Birth of the Nation, and we're not talking about a Triumph of the Will or anything.
Right. But also same effect, same
effect, same plan.
Because within 10 years, the Klan is reborn.
Yeah. Well, right, but even worse, I would even think. Like, at least in the Klan after Birth of the Nation, they were a de facto vigilante group, and then the Nazis were. These guys were ready to.
Well,
every aspect.
Triumph of the Will didn't come out until, I think it's 1930. So it's before Hitler was chancellor.
Yeah, it wasn't National Socialist.
But it was during his campaign for chancellor.
Exactly. And that's what's crazy about, and we'll go into that too. You're one of the few people who actually start bringing it up. The painter Ely Mays, I believe, that one of my favorite painters and people I've interviewed here. We immediately started going into like the idea of like how do you control a culture, what have you. You need like the 5 people, you need the visionary, the drug addict, the magician, like a couple other ones, and he started just rattling them off. And this black dude from Texas, and he said all these different people had that kind of thing. And but so you already knew instinctually even before you got into the documentary stuff, the power that it could have over maybe narrative film.
Well, Yes, but that was Weissman. That wasn't like, I mean, I did a lot of archival research in documentary film, so I saw all of the German footage,
Right.
all the transit footage, all of, I saw the first take, or the first version of Triumph of the Will,
Wow.
where the soldiers are out of step, and they had to go back and reshoot a lot of scenes
I see.
to make it perfect.
But you saw this in school?
No,
the university,
no,
or?
I saw it at the Library of Congress. I saw it while I was working. I went and looked at pretty much everything in the Library
When
of
did you end up
Congress.
going to school for film stuff?
Well, when I moved to New York, I was, like I said, I was at the Tisch School of Continuing Education. I
Right.
did a couple of semesters there.
Right.
We were still working in 16 millimeter film on Steenbecks.
Yeah.
Then I got a job as an assistant editor on a Steenbeck, and the assistant director on the shoot. From that, and then from that job, I got a job as an assistant editor on another film on the subway system, and from that job, I got another job.
See, you're already...
That's the only way you get film
Yeah.
jobs. Is somebody calls you and says, "Hey, can you do this?"
And also, like, they won't let you in unless you go to school. Oh, it's catch-22, right? So if you don't have any money and you're trying to get into it, then you do need to know somebody. But even if you go to film school, it doesn't mean you're actually going to do any like real live work with people.
Right.
And
But
so you found yourself actually in a situation where you were working in reality with people
well, I mean, I come
outside of a school
I
system.
came from I tried to go to school for photography, but my teacher was an idiot. When I
Right.
first went to college,
I think we all know. We all know one or two of them.
I mean, and he actually, the film and TV professor was an idiot. His credentials for being head of that department or
Yeah.
that part of the communications program was that he had been an extra in Carousel.
That was it.
That was
his
it.
big.
That was it. That was it.
That was his awesome.
That was his curriculum vitae. So, and he and
He's
and
got,
I
like, one thing on his CV. It's just like
just I
I was an extra on a movie.
Yeah,
I
I
can
can
teach kids
teach
now.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he and I didn't really see eye to eye, so I switched to
see that.
photography.
Yeah, you don't suffer any fools.
And then I went to work in photo labs when I decided that college was not really.
And we're talking about legit photo. We're not talking. This is pre-digital. This is.
Oh yeah, before, like long before digital, I
Yeah.
was a master printer.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lost art right there.
I printed for in some of the places I printed in the best black and white lab in town, and I printed in the best Cibachrome lab in town eventually. But I did a lot of schlock advertising fucking work before that.
This myth that you
and worked
that you could
with
just
a
get away
number
with
of
it.
idiots.
Well, I mean, think about it. In New York City, they think, oh, you just get here and then everything's fine. It's like, no. Even people who are professionals still have side jobs.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
no.
you got to pay rent.
Yeah. When I got here, I worked a whole day for nothing, and was starving. Went downtown to meet some people, with the people that I had moved here with, and they took their fucking time. I'm starving. They give me a glass of orange juice. By the time we get to the restaurant finally, and as we're walking to the restaurant, this is somewhere near Astor Place, right? There are 5 of us. It's my second night in town.
Yeah, nice.
And
That sounds exciting.
this Puerto Rican dude in a wife beater comes running past us full fucking speed and tries to hide in front of us. There's a thundering herd of policemen coming around the corner.
Astor Place, I know that. It's like there's a couple of exit.
This is where the car wash was, right? And this thundering herd of cops comes around, and we all flatten ourselves up against the wall.
we don't know anything. We're over here.
Right? Cops tackle the guy,
yeah.
start beating the fuck out of him. Cop car wheels up. Detective jumps out, kicks the guy.
Man.
Like, there are 12 cops and one little Puerto Rican. And then we get to the restaurant. And then there's like another hour's wait to get food.
Yeah.
And so by the time the food gets there, I take one bite and I have to go outside and puke.
Ooh.
So I'm sitting on the side of the street, on 4th Street. I think it was by Great Jones, on Great Jones.
I know where you are, yeah.
By that burger place, just puking and thinking, okay, well, that's probably as bad as it's going to get.
This is about as bad as it's going to get here.
I'm a little homesick right
Yeah,
now,
like,
but this is probably the worst of it.
I don't really... Yeah, you're like, why am I here again? What's going on? Fuck happened?
Yeah. And it was for a long time the worst of it.
And people do think about that when they think about New York City, that it's just so...
They think it's full of opportunity, but not necessarily.
I mean, it is, but it isn't.
Opportunity for people you know.
Or even just I think what you brought up with the dogs is the randomness.
Yeah.
You got to be in the casino to win.
Yeah.
You can't, if you just sit in the suburbs, you're not going to just, it's not like you're going to go to Starbucks, and no offense against St. Louis, Missouri, but, St. Louis, Missouri, is that what it is?
St. Louis, yeah.
Yeah. You go to the Starbucks there, so I highly doubt you're going to run into another interesting, creative individual who absolutely wants to work with you.
Also, at that time in the 80s and 90s, New York was the center of the documentary film world.
Absolutely.
Hey, there weren't that many documentaries being made, and funding was a little more fluid than it is now. When HBO and Netflix and all those people jump in the game, that's a whole different story.
Well, no, that's like the big.
But all the funding was generally public funding, either through state grants or federal grants that you didn't have to pay back until Ken Burns did baseball and made so much fucking money, and now you have to pay it all back.
Right. Ken Burns is the shit.
Ken Burns is.
Oh, come on! Don't talk shit on.
All right, Ken Burns and Steven Spielberg are both hacks.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna put a pin in that. What are they saying? Corporate culture.
Only because Ken Burns makes the same style of film over and over, and he gears it towards...
That's his brand.
Yeah, but he gears it toward a 12-year-old mentality, and people should be fucking smarter.
I'm with you. And the thing is one of my favorite things to do when I go to
And you should challenge them.
Of course.
This comes back to film as a form, and what I think film is supposed to do.
Challenge, of course.
Film is supposed to be interactive with the audience, not just a one-way fucking street.
Are you saying narrative film should be that, or are you saying documentary film, or every film should be that? Music videos.
All film.
All film should be interactive. Like, you should have a on-point time of interacting with your audience. I don't know. No. What I'm saying, I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying it like you need to get your audience to think the way that you want them to think about something. Right. So you have the narrative that you can give them something like.
And you're moving a story along, and the story is not all bleh. Here's my story.
Right.
Some of it's got to be subtle so they can make the connections in their own fucking brains.
Every time I went to film festivals, one of my favorite areas to go to would be and just watch all the documentary features and short films. And what's even better is you get to meet the people, because a lot of times the filmmakers who are bringing their work, the short films, it was such a labor of love because it is not a place where
they're doing their own distribution generally. They don't have anybody else doing it.
They're shucking it out of a briefcase. They're like, can we just...
Take my card. Take my card. Trying to sell my fucking
I don't know, $5 stream, $5 stream. But I found that to be so... It was so amazing because you really started to see why documentary film was so interesting. You're right, and in the 80s and 90s, there was a huge boom in this, and it's taking the 70s Veritas style, of just kind of handheld and moving around, but then bringing that into also.
In the late 90s, you're starting to get digital cameras.
Right. Well, that changed.
The Betamax, beta cameras, professional beta cameras changed. The format of TV, of PBS for sure.
No, those guys, they were used to be just boring as fuck, right?
Well, they're still, I've got a lighter, I'm just trying to maneuver.
It's all good.
The problem with PBS, and this is personal.
Okay, yeah, right.
This is my personal opinion.
Chico wants to fight PBS.
Oh, no. PBS has already won.
This week on PBS versus Chico.
Yeah, PBS has already won. But the producing stations don't actually make the films. Independent filmmakers make the films, make the series, make the products.
And that's what changed when you had the digital revolution.
Well, no, it didn't change. But they control their film, and they, especially during Bush the First, when they threatened to take away the NEA and NEH funding.
Sure, yeah. They've been
all of those bureaucrats at all of those PBS stations who are the presenting stations and producing partners in most of these things right? Once you get NEH or NEA funding, it was dependent upon you having a producing station, right? Those are bureaucrats. They're not filmmakers. They're scared they're going to lose their fucking job if the NEA and the NEH pulls funding. So they start censoring and and then the filmmakers start self-censoring, and then the only kind of format that they'll accept is a Ken Burns style format.
Right, and okay, but that's why. So the only way I would even throw my
that killed documentary film.
Okay, but hold on. One, I don't think it's dead. Two,
well, no, because you have other outlets now.
That's why I still will throw my hat in the ring for Burns, because I think Burns was just you're right. He was the Spielberg. I don't think that they were it just happened to be that their specific, and that's a great analogy between Spielberg and Ken Burns, Steven Spielberg and Ken Burns, because what they happen to do is something that is the most palatable to the most amount of people.
Yeah, and it's the same thing over and over.
But I don't blame those guys.
No, they're making money.
No, but I don't think it's even conscious on their side.
No, maybe not, but
I think that they just slip through. But you got to get a guy like William Friedkin.
I've seen so many really good scenes cut from films because.
Of course.
And I had a meeting. I had a meeting about a documentary, and they're like, "Oh, like Ken Burns," and I'm like, "No, not like Ken Burns. Better music, quicker editing."
But there was always going to be something like that. There's always going to be the smoothest rock that goes down the river, whatever. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, but the whole point of any art or life or anything is to push the envelope in some direction. No, this is the structure of the universe.
For you,
matter keeps getting more complex. Duh.
These guys are also maybe in the market for just saying, look, we need to pass on information that is not normally informed about, and there's a lot of little caveats we can give and expand your human horizon, and without having to go to a library, which I used to have to do it, encyclopedias, you used to have to do it, pre-internet Google, I still use it, I love it, I'm not talking shit. I guess the only thing why I would throw my hat in the ring for these guys is they just happen to just. All right,
so when did the Civil War come out? The Civil War came out like in 1980.
Was it 80? I thought it was 90.
Sometime in the 80s, I think. So it's now 30 years later.
Yeah.
40 years later, and he's still making the same fucking film, and PBS is still only paying for films like that. There's so many advances.
The enemy is
not only in technology,
in
the cameras, and what you can do, what you can make, and they still won't do it.
The enemy is the companies. The enemy is the bureaucrats. The enemy are these things, and that's where you and I 100% follow the same lineage, because
I think it's failing.
Right.
I think it's failing the medium.
Right, because you see the medium as a place of purity. No, not in some highfalutin way. I don't think you look at it like that. I don't think you're highfalutin at all. There's nothing highfalutin about you. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing. But I can see where you're saying this is a medium where we need to be showing.
And we need
some
to
of the
utilize it
and the beauty.
We need to utilize it in the best ways. And keep advancing the way that we can use it.
Yeah.
And for telling, like so many movies that are narrative, right? Some really good narrative movies. A lot of the story is in the silence. Yeah. And I just don't like being spoon-fed facts.
No one does.
I'd rather somebody tell me a story and the fact come out, and then But
you require a little different.
I require the viewer to think,
and also you enjoy to think when you're the viewer, right? So you expect kind of the same dance.
That's what I mean by engaging.
Yeah, the square dance. With the idea.
But it has the capacity to fire off little neurons in people's brains. Why the fuck don't you use it?
Well, here's the thing, though. But I think that when you say it's already dead, I disagree. I think we're at the best time. Well,
I think PBS is dead.
No, yeah, the court. No. All any kind of like, what is it? Just old timey media, or there's another word for it that's hilarious that's going around. I can't remember.
Boomer.
Not
media.
even boomer, but it's just a great one. There's some kind of version of that. And no one cares. Oh, legacy media. Legacy media is done.
Yeah.
All right. So legacy media is finished. It's over. It is the. You and I right now with like $100 with our phones and my gear I have right here, we could do some shit.
Yeah, but that's fantasy.
It's not fantasy.
It's fantasy in terms of distribution.
Distribution would be difficult.
Right. So I've got a film shot in 5K that I'm cutting now.
Nice.
It's going to be an
You wanna
hour
talk about
long.
it? Is there something we can
No,
talk
I don't
about?
want to talk about it. Sorry. But I have a friend who's a distributor. And
Yeah.
so far we've spent maybe $70,000 on this thing.
Jesus.
And it's going to cost another $60 to finish.
Just finished in the sense of distribution?
Just to finish, to get ready to distribute.
Oh, that's that's before distribution.
That's before distribution.
Right. So trying to find funding for that, then plus diving into the strange
but
field of
I think we can
distribution.
find funding for that, and I
Yeah.
have a distributor in place. So it's in good shape. I've got, the first third of the film cut. I got
So Doc's not dead.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't want to talk specifically about it, but it's an absurdist cinema verite travelogue.
There you go. Sounds good to me. And if it's done by you, I'm definitely watching it.
Yeah.
Let me be there front row at the screening.
But
I'll be there with a bottle of
the
whiskey.
concept is to break the form
Right.
and make people think, make people wonder.
Good. Yeah, but this shouldn't be some kind of clandestine idea. I mean, this is what we were doing.
No,
here.
we should have already been here as a documentary community years ago.
Perhaps so. Maybe it could be generational. I don't know your age, Chico.
And there are some. I mean, there's a German film that has some of the same concepts, but is more narrative based than what we're doing. It's called Look Who's Back. Again, we back to Hitler. Hitler comes out of his
God damn it,
bunker
Hitler.
after
Fuck
45,
you, man.
after in 2015,
Okay.
and becomes a comedian, a national comedian.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that came out, yeah.
Yeah, great film. Hilarious film. Some documentary footage in there, mostly their narrative story.
Yeah.
And then, Hitler's dialogue was pretty much all of his old speeches.
Right.
Fucking hysterical.
Well, because you have a dark sense of humor. I have a dark sense of humor.
But I also appreciate the form because they had him riding in the back of a Jeep in downtown, Munich, and he was waving at the people, and the people were waving back.
Right. Did you watch Jojo Rabbit, I assume?
Yes.
Great. I thought
Good.
it was hilarious.
I like this other one better.
What's the other one? What's
The Look Who's Back. I liked it better
that
than
one's better?
Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, did you not to get off one dictator and move to another? Did you watch Death of Stalin yet?
No.
Oh man, it's right there for you. It's right there. But it is a narrative film, and there's no aspects
Yeah.
of
I have
documentary.
watched all of Servant of the People though, and I would.
What's that one?
That's the Zelensky comedy series.
Oh shit! I don't think a
It's
lot of people watch this stuff.
Fucking brilliant. And in
More
the
people
same
need to
vein,
remember this. Yeah.
in the same vein, and you know why Putin invaded once you watch the series.
Oh shit! Because okay, all right. So there was antagonism.
Oh my God!
Obviously.
Oh my God! So
Good.
much.
All right. All right.
Along with political, he laid out his platform in this comedy show.
Wow.
It's like
It's like that's meta.
it's like the great fucking Houdini.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like it's meta on meta.
He's ridiculously smart.
Talking about Zelensky.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I don't know too much. I mean, I know as much as any average American knows about what's going on over there. And I only know a little bit about Zelensky. I know that he was offered to leave.
And he didn't.
I mean, I know America was like, yo. if you
Well, he
wanna
wasn't.
bounce-
Yeah, watch this series and you'll understand what his political viewpoint is.
It's an interesting thing because a lot of people who are cynics.
And you'll laugh your ass off.
I like comedy. Huge fan. But what's interesting is that's what's fascinating. I was talking. What I do know about Zelensky is that he was a comic, which definitely means he was a writer, which definitely means he's a creative soul, which definitely is an interesting place to be, especially when you're facing a mighty empire as current Russia, post-Soviet Union, under Putin. I don't even know what he's calling it. Just that we are Russia.
Yeah.
We are Mother Russia.
Yeah, well, I read somewhere recently that Putin does have cancer.
I've heard he's got Parkinson's. I heard he's got everything.
Well, I mean, the only explanation for his behavior and his trying to reestablish the USSR boundaries is that he's fucking dying and he's thinking legacy.
I'm totally down with that. I don't know enough, but I think what makes it interesting is that with Havel and Zelensky, now we have two people in the history, at least in the last 200 years, that have run countries who were artists. And I find to me that's... I wonder what kind of... People were like, well, he was offered to go, but he's also doing, commencement speeches for Stanford University right now when he's in the middle of a war that just happened.
Yeah,
so
but
you can see the criticism. They're like, well, is he a showman? And he's just playing both sides? Like, what's going on?
He owned a multimedia company. So
isn't it hard? Doesn't your cynical side kind of go like,
a little bit. I mean, who funded that?
Right. But also, it's like, how
was
much
was that our CIA that funded his multimedia company so he could do this series that was critical of the Russian puppets?
This is where we go, and this is where I want to go,
and that's entirely possible.
And so I want to. So when I say, "Oh my God, isn't it fantastic?" These two leaders who happen to be
still a great series and probably one of the better things the CIA has ever done.
Hey, Havel's plays are pretty good too.
It's still, I would say, it ranks
Slavic
number
Man's
one of
plays
my
is doing
favorite
good.
CIA hits. Right. Pardon the pun.
CIA, yeah, no, it's anyways, but yes, so it's an interesting thing. So I think a lot of the cynics on both sides, left, right, indifferent, whatever, are going, okay, well, blind just defense of this guy is one thing. Reverence is one thing. Is he smart? Obviously, no shit, Sherlock. You don't get to be places like that guy is, or Putin, or any leader
except
of anything except what?
Except for that last blob we had in office.
Who was that? I can't remember. What are you talking about? My father?
Was your mother a stripper?
Matthew, Linda Diabate was a pretty friendly lady. She was funny. She liked to get around.
But was she
so
blonde?
Sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry.
He's got a thing for blondes.
God damn it. No, she's dark as night. But no, it is fascinating when you start thinking like, okay, so yeah, we can believe in that and it's fantastic and blah blah blah. But going back to anything, and we were talking about documentary film, is that you can, with that, you can't really lie. I mean, you could phrase your films in so many different ways. You can edit it in certain ways.
I don't know.
No, but what I'm saying is,
you can lie in lie. You can lie in a biography.
No, on camera, if I take out a pistol and shoot someone in the face and it's on camera, trust me, unless it's CGI. What I mean is that the camera doesn't lie in the sense of, if you have somebody right here, now you can edit it in any kind of shape, way, or form with it. You can make Steve Bannon the greatest man who ever walked the earth, or you can just destroy him and say he's some fat slob psychotic who's, bent on the destruction of the minority race
of humankind.
Yeah, but we don't know. But what's interesting is, that's.
Well, I mean, even the Weissman documentaries, which I was so fascinated by, and really switched me over from wanting to do narrative to documentary. Some of that shit he set up. Like in Titicut Follies, there's a force-feeding scene that he finds out is happening, and, he's in there waiting for them to drag the guy in because he knows it's going on. But and some of the conversations he set up, it reads like it's all just happening, but it's never that way. I know working on a lot of biographical projects.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of directors have it's again, ego, vanity, whatever.
Those things.
Whatever that is, they try to create their own story within the character's story. So the only parts of the character they pull up,
right?
Yeah, but I find it less honest. Okay. I find it disingenuous. I find it egocentric and annoying.
What do they call that? Like a scientist does it. It's like something biased or perceived bias.
Perceived bias, yeah.
Perceived bias.
But
right?
they try to tell. They try to tell the story of who they would be in that person's situation,
instead of that
because they can't separate
right.
themselves from someone else, and this is a narcissism problem.
Also, I thought about this too, and I was having this conversation with another writer, Colin Dodds. I'm sure you remember him. I mean, we're putting out a book in September together, but two separate books. But he talks about that too, about the difference between fiction when you're writing fiction, is that your characters don't have to be you. You know, as a narrative, it's fiction, right? So you're trying to get away from you. Or maybe people are like, oh, he would act like that, or she would do that. The author would. Yeah. But in reality, like
you're trying to take aspects of something you understand as behavior and create a character.
You're over here, right? And you're like, okay, I can make this move, right? But I don't want it to be, oh, here's me because I'm trying to tell my story.
All right, so in reverse,
exactly.
In a biography, you have the story.
The story's already done.
And so what happens with some directors is they try to fit the story to them, as I said, and it's.
And I'm with you on that.
And I don't think it's intentional. I don't think it's intentional. I think it's narcissism.
Yeah, right.
You know.
No, and I meet them all the time, and that's one of the things I tell young writers. I'm like, get your ass out of. They're like, well, I don't know how to write. I'm like, get your ass out of the story. Get your writing ass out of the fucking story immediately. If you're going to do this, if you want to talk about your life and you're doing memoir, then write you. Be you. That's you. That's why the word memoir exists.
I also can see where you could have, a story where you're a number of characters.
Absolutely. Right. And that would lead itself more into the sort of surrealistic fiction of the real creatives in the 70s, Marquez and Cortázar and these other writers.
Well, maybe even Faulkner.
Faulkner, as an American, was definitely one of them with, when they're crossing the river trying to get their dead mother or dying mother across.
As I Lay Dying.
As I Lay Dying, which is my favorite Faulkner. Is my favorite Faulkner.
Oh, my favorite is Absalom.
Really? Oh my God, my friend Jake Tomsky, who I think you met before, he's a Faulkner crazy person.
I love Absalom.
I couldn't get in anything Faulkner was doing. I loved As I Lay Dying because he did change character like that. I thought that was really good. And Kundera does that. Milan Kundera does this all the time. He floats into one thing. He even puts himself in it. But that's the metafiction that was really cool. But I understand Vonnegut was right. No, see, we both. Yeah, I know we're cut from the same cloth on the writing tip, but I can see when you're saying.
I just don't. I mean, I think if you're doing a biography of someone, they have their story,
right?
And honestly, biographies in film form are pretty much limited to the last century, where there's material to do.
Well, we don't know anything about what was Medusa really like?
There's nothing to make a film out of before that, right? There's a couple of photographs and maybe some etchings. This is not going to happen.
Napoleon's taller than I thought. What the hell?
You have to use recreation for that stuff. But if you're making a straight biopic, there's of someone in the last 100 years that is important enough to do a biopic of, and even in the last 20 years, anybody, because they have so much shit on Facebook, there's film and footage out there for them to speak for themselves.
Correct. And that's what I think a lot of it, and that's where I will have to whoop Ken Burns' ass a little bit, because I will have to take him I have to take him over the barrel.
Because he oftentimes lets experts speak for people.
No, because of the Hemingway one. Because did you watch it?
I may have tried to.
You tried?
I may have watched one of them.
Let's
there were like 4 of them or something.
Hemingway, if he was here on the planet, Ken Burns better
better hide.
Because Hemingway can go into the sea, he can go into the mountains, he can go into the
can
prairies.
Shoot.
He can shoot. He's a marksman, Ken.
Coming after you for that bullshit.
Ken, he's been everywhere. He's got a boat, Ken. All right, he's coming after you, dude.
Yeah, I think the part I watched,
3 or 4 Cubans
it's about how Hemingway was just brokenhearted by all the women, and
I will stand with that. As a minor Hemingway scholar, I will stand with that. Again, we're jumping topics, but we'll get back to it too. But no, I think that he was. I swear to you, I've read all his
But
letters.
He picked, like Burns picked one attitude and stayed with it.
But that's the thing.
This is not a human condition.
I know. This is... And then when it finally got to it, like at the
We
end,
are transitional creatures.
okay, no spoilers. Okay, watch the PBS documentary by Ken Burns, the Hemingway shit. Half of it is accurate. The other half, I'm gonna become Hemingway and get a boat and find Ken Burns. Come here, little homie. Stop flat ironing your hair, motherfucker. Because he does. I think he flat irons his hair.
I don't know what he does.
Anyways, point is that's not the reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be converted. So that's
I have intellectual differences with Ken Burns.
Right. No, of course I do too. His hair's fine. I'm just saying that it was an insult. It was an insult to Hemingway.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But-
I mean, and a lot of it, but I think he leaves a lot out, and it comes from that PBS self-censorship
Yeah.
bullshit that they've gotten into the habit of.
Well, they had to do it. They had to be like, okay, so his
They
mom...
didn't have to do
No,
it.
but there was like his mom dressed him in dresses.
Oh.
So therefore, he had a burning... I'm like, if you
Had-
guys say
he's
that...
like,
if you guys...
he's like repressed homophobe.
if I hear this, just like, I'm
homosexual.
fine with any... I mean, everybody's a little bit on the Kinsey, all right? I'm not denying that.
Maybe he was just a transvestite.
Maybe so, but he never exhibited any example of that after the age of 3.
I am sure there's some photographs somebody has somewhere.
He was... Oh my God, stumbling into the Hemingway arguing with you right now is amazing.
Yeah,
But-
no, I'm just kidding.
No,
you know,
it's fine. I'm just...
I don't like Hemingway for other reasons.
What's your beef? What's your beef?
All right,
You're
well-
just walking into the lion's den right now. So
Yeah, I know.
no, it's fun.
But it's the
Let's get you another beer.
what? No, I'm good. I still have.
I just want you to have a cold one.
All right. But it has to do with the macho culture stuff, which I think is.
Wait. But at that time, hold on, make it over.
Yeah, but I never. I mean, at any time, it's harmful. You know,
Hold on here. Take this just for a backup.
as an archetype, which he created a lot of, male archetypes. I'm gonna go fight in the Civil War.
I mean, I would think-
so did George Orwell, but he hid in the trench.
Well, George Orwell did a lot of things, but no, I think with the macho thing is a myth. I think the media made that up. I think Theodore Roosevelt probably had that, and he probably wanted that to happen. And they just put out some new thing on this.
All right,
On this,
but also on and I haven't read that much Hemingway, but The Old Man and the Sea
yeah,
is like the most heartbreaking book ever.
but it's honest, right? It's like a
I know
Buddhistic cone
it's
almost.
it's brutal.
It's just like
It's so fucking brutal.
you win and you get nothing.
Yeah, like that Charles Burnett film, Killers of Sheep.
That's it. It's like you win. So this dude, and he's just like, I did it, and he comes back and is like, all right,
And then
I
he
have nothing,
dies.
and then that's it.
Yeah, and then he dies.
I was reading the letters between.
He makes it back in with the skeleton, and he fucking dies.
He's like, all right. I was reading the letters between Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and Fitzgerald way more came off as the guy you wanted to hang out with. I respect Hemingway's like dark stoicism, American craziness, or whatever. Like the root of the earth and the metals and must win. Fitzgerald's kind of like, hey man, where are we drinking tonight?
Yeah. Well, Fitzgerald is.
It's much more human.
Oh,
but I only like this book. This is my
here's
only
an
book
analogy.
I can read from him.
Fitzgerald is like Lou Reed. Like Lou Reed.
That's interesting.
Lou Reed takes a walk down the street and writes a song. Fitzgerald is hanging out and writes a story,
Yeah,
but it's situational
yeah.
and
Well, this is the only
realistic.
thing I could read from. I've tried to reread all of Fitzgerald's recently, and this is the only thing I can get through it. That's drugs.
Have you read?
I've read it twice this week.
All right. Have you read? Like my favorite short story is one of Fitzgerald's
Yeah.
short
Which one?
stories. It's A Diamond as Big as the Ritz.
Right. That's great. Short story's killing it. No, it's always good to talk to people who know about these things. But it's just funny that in the media, and a lot of what people think, they make Hemingway the macho guy, and he's kind of not. I mean, Hemingway really only has 3 good books.
Do you think Burroughs is more macho than Hemingway?
I don't know Burroughs. I don't even think he's human. It's like, and then I took those things with We walk through the magical place. And you're just like, dude, I have no idea where we are, but I'm going with you, Bill. I'm going with you, Bill. I love you, Bill. Who are your favorite beat people? You like the beats?
Not really. I mean, my favorite authors are George Orwell and Faulkner. I also like Jeanette Winterson a lot.
Who's she?
She did Oranges Is Not the Only Fruit years ago, and then she did something called Written on the Body, which wasn't so good. But then she did a book called Art and Lies.
There we go.
Which is a
nonfiction or fiction?
Fiction parable discussion about the intersection between art and music and literature.
Ooh. But it's an essay or something like this?
No, it's characters that represent art and music and literature.
Okay, I see what you. Oh, I love this. It's like that's awesome.
It's
Kind
brilliant.
of throwback
It's brilliant. It's very well
almost
written.
like Greek theater at that point.
It is Greek theater, I think.
Yeah, I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But see, that's why also I can see where the documentary film and your creativity comes together, is because you enjoy the reality. You're not worried about necessarily the reality being depicted 100%, because obviously you need to feel some kind of like authenticity to it, but you're also can fuck with the kind of world, how to get it to across to the audience as well, and that's why you like these authors. I mean, Faulkner was already starting to
Faulkner was
go that way.
I mean, poor Benji and the cow, man. It's like we had to read that in high school, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I reread it later, and I'm like, oh shit.
So Ginsberg never got to you?
Ginsberg I like. I'm not well versed.
I mean, he was a poet. I mean,
Yeah, I literally stopped reading books 20 years ago.
I love you poets, by the way.
Yeah.
You guys get no love, I know.
But I read for a long, long time, and I read a lot of stuff, and then I just pretty much, if I read 1-2 books a year, I'm like...
Yeah, but at least, but the point is, but Chico, you don't come off as some uneducated, crazy person. Like,
well, no, I read a lot of articles,
stuff,
and
of
I
course.
read, and I have to do a lot of research. You know,
Yeah.
I write for the medical and energy industry.
But also, well, you got to think about, well, you got to get paid, right?
Yeah. So I know about turbines. Want to talk about turbines?
Turbines? We got turbines. I got plenty of turbines if you want a turbine.
We can talk CT scans and PET scans.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, that's one of the things. You know, I was trying to get back to the basics the other day, and I just remember thinking, you know, because so many different traumatic things have happened. You know, there was a shooting in the neighborhood. One of my friends got shot and killed. I think you knew Dan. I'm not sure if you knew him.
Maybe it doesn't.
I love the guy. I knew him forever. He supported many of my films. Always, a lot of the Le Chat Noir parties I threw when I finally, you know, started throwing those things. He supported, and just point blank. And one of the things it kind of shocked me a little bit. It shook me out of my. And plus, we've all been through COVID for the last fucking what does it feel like 3 years of this. You know, remember having the clandestine little. That's how Kill the Cat started. It's like clandestine. We all had masks. We're like, hey, what's going on here, man? This is the only way we can hang out.
No, I kind of loved the beginning of COVID.
Yes. All the death got you going.
No, before all the death.
The fear.
Before all the death.
You enjoyed the fear.
When the streets were empty and all you could hear was the hum of delivery bikes.
Okay. All
You
right.
know, and it was like a bike superhighway all over the city. And it was spring, so I was out on my bike all the time.
A lot of people. I love how they're trying to go back to normal, and I find this amusing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
They didn't like normal.
I just think I'm sick because I'm seeing that people are actually. You can see they're trying to act as they were before, but every one of their movements almost seems stilted.
Well, the city is full of tourists without masks on the train.
Which is fine. I'm fine with that because it's over now. It's over.
It's not over.
Finished.
It's not over. It's not over.
COVID is over. COVID's never going to be over.
I got a friend that didn't get it all the time. Has been triple vaccinated. Blah blah blah.
Now he's got it now.
No, he's got it. He's got it, and he's stuck in Jersey, and he's sick as a fucking dog.
That happens, but I'm not saying COVID's over. I'm saying that the idea of the mass destruction of the planet is over. Like,
no, because we went
with COVID. I didn't say whether the other things.
Yeah, we went from COVID in 1 week to World War III.
Okay, well that's different. At least we can deal with that.
It took like 3 days, man. It was like fuck. So, let's go back to 2001.
Sure, I love it.
Let's go back to all those buildings that fell down for no particular reason.
I think some people think there's a reason.
Yeah, well, so when I had a friend working on a film on Building 7. Why did Building 7 fall? And fall in its footprint, right? And I have other friends in the same group. We were all soccer players together, and they're like, oh, you and your conspiracy theories. And it's like, that is a dismissive way to discount a bunch of information.
That's what I'm saying.
That you're uncomfortable with. However, now we're in 2022, and there's all this lunatic fringe bullshit that really is lunatic fringe bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
That is tied in very loosely with a fact. Instead of a bunch of facts and a couple of erroneous things, now it's mostly erroneous things and one or two fucking facts. And they're still calling it conspiracy theory.
But you're saying there's an element to it that's way more like scary and dangerous than it was maybe. Like someone could have a conspiracy theory in like the 80s.
And they were right. They were
right.
right.
Most of it came out. So
oh my God. The FBI has infiltrated the Black Panthers. You know, you guys are being paranoid.
MK Ultra was my
MK
favorite.
Ultra, yeah.
Remember
that
watching
didn't happen.
Did you ever watch that Jacob's Ladder movie back in the 90s? Jacob's Ladder with Tim Robbins when he's like a mailman, but he's like going into this. It turns out he's a Vietnam vet and he's already dead. Spoilers.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Oh, so good. But they were hinting.
All right,
at this.
but like there's a story that I read somewhere of when the guy in Basel discovered LSD.
Right.
That
I remember that dude's name.
The CIA. Evidently, they thought when the North Koreans captured the airmen, they thought they had them drugged. Right? And so the CIA was looking for a drug that could be an interrogation drug, like what they thought the North Koreans used.
We got that from the Germans.
And so they heard about what was going on in Basel, and so they went and they bought a drum full of LSD, all of the LSD that had been manufactured.
Yeah.
And brought it to CIA headquarters.
Sounds great, yeah.
And then they would play practical jokes. Every day, somebody would take a dropper and dose somebody, and you never knew who was going to get the dose of LSD in their fucking coffee.
College experience.
Yeah, yeah. But so they played with it that way, and then of course there's some again. And when you go down these rabbit holes, you find the thing about Anton LaVey and the West Coast thing. Yeah. With the LSD experiments that were going on there, with the CIA agent that was bringing it to them.
There's a million of these stories.
There's a million of them.
I gotta say, I love this shit.
I know, but how much of it? Some of it's got to be true. Some of it's not true, and it opened the door for this believing any fucking thing.
Okay, come on, but people have always been kind of dumb. Like most people just need. Most people vote emotionally. Most people vote emotionally.
Evidently, people are dumber than I thought they were.
Okay. Well,
no, this is true. Somebody told me. I went to a party a few weeks ago.
I'm not saying dumb. When I say dumb, I want to clear this up. Like, I don't think people are dumb. I think they're instinctual. And when I say dumb, I mean sometimes instinctually speaking, like you will go to whatever's safe immediately. If someone has like a good face, you're like, okay,
that's
trust
part.
that.
That's part of. So that's dumb, part of a developmental stage, right? You know, our brains should be developing. Yeah. What's happened is the brains have stopped developing.
Well, why?
Because people refuse to look at things.
But why?
If you don't use the synapses, they don't work.
But why? Why do you think people don't want to do that or don't do that?
Well, I mean, possibly because of what you said. But I was at this party, and this guy was talking about how the average American IQ used to be 105, and now it's 100. Now, I have been operating all of my life, all of my adult life, under the assumption that the average American IQ was 120. So now I understand why I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
I mean, it's an interesting thing. I have met people who are not intellectual, and they have judged.
Smart as fuck.
They have judged me. No, but they've judged me for coming off like funny. You know, they're like, "Why are you talking funny?" You know what I mean? I remember, shit like that, like idiocracy shit. You know?
Yeah.
Why are you talking like a retard? Why you better than me? You know, that kind of shit.
Well, obviously,
there's always assholes.
There's always assholes.
And then there's a smart guy who knows everything. And every time
he's
you try
an
to
asshole
say something to him, he's like, well, I heard that already because I read this article. And you're like, okay, fuck off.
Yeah, you're an asshole too.
Right. So, but what I mean by that thing is, yeah, when you run into people and that just instinctually they're looking at you like, but I kind of like when you can recognize that fact in both of you as a human. You're like, hey, then you end up being friends, and they're like, man, I don't know about this person, but this person's the smartest man over here, Matt. He's kind of an idiot, and he can't drink with shit. And
well,
and there's like a
people. How do you think that I get all those free beers?
Pity. I'm just kidding.
It's not pity. It's not pity. I'm an amusing motherfucker.
You are fucking hilarious. No, but I don't know what happened there. But I think when it comes down to that sort of the rabbit holes and all of the different places you can go, people always believe crazy shit. I mean, Salem witch trials going back to the whatever.
God.
But I'm a Christian. But I am converted. I'm good. I'm good. My soul's right in the planet.
There's this ethereal man in the sky.
My friends are like, dude, you don't act like one. I'm like, well, we're all sinners. We're all sinners out here. So,
and that's funny. Part of my problem with religion.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Yes. The problem with religion. Never
I can be the biggest fucking asshole on the street. I can be a pedophile. I could be, a scummy lawyer. I can be whatever. But, I go to church, so I'm a Christian. I'm a good person because I go to church.
I have my own belief system on this.
Or I go to confession, and it's all good. I'm still getting into heaven no matter what a fucker I've been.
I don't know about that. That's why I'm going with more born-again Christianity in the sense of, like, I'm just making shit up as I go along and just kind of following old JC, see how he rolls.
No.
He seemed pretty cool.
Well, I mean, those parables are good. I mean, very...
I'm going to make you watch a German Nazi tank movie tonight.
Very pacifist approach to life, which was nice. And I got nothing wrong. I got nothing to say about the golden rule. That's good.
Golden rule is all it is. That's all it is, anyways. So, anyways,
but the idea that there's some entity watching over all of this mess.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, that's not what happening.
I don't know anything about that.
This is all accident.
I don't know anything about any of that stuff. I've never.
Accident.
Every time I've seen angelic behaviors from humans, and every time I've seen fucking satanic behaviors from humans, so I'm pretty sure it begins and ends with the human being.
Well, it's consciousness.
It is.
But also, it's more than consciousness. It's the fabric of the universe. And that doesn't have an entity to it. It just fucking is that way.
Yeah, there's things. I can't remember who I was. I was watching, again, another YouTube video, which I go down rabbit holes. It was one edit. One quantum physicist I was talking about, if you're looking at evolution, right, and you say, okay, cool, all right, so why is this rat out on the sidewalk here on North 6, right, like giant rat? Why does he use that hole? Because he likes that hole, and people were like, yeah, like humans always like to put on human emotions to animals.
That's been his family home for 400 generations.
Or it's just like he doesn't give a shit if he likes it or not. That's where he's now survived for this long.
Well, I mean, if you look at
evolution.
The rats came here from the ships. The Norwegian brown rat is the common rat here. Yes. It came off merchant ships in the 1600s. Those rats are in their 4,000th generation family homes.
Yeah, they've been here forever.
They've been here longer than any of the rest of us. Don't pull your I'm a native New Yorker bullshit with that rat.
No, the rats and the cockroaches, I got to hand it to them.
They own this town.
So to me, also about New York, though, when you got here, you were coming from Georgia, which very.
No, I came from Tennessee. I came from Nashville.
But definitely like a southern.
Yeah,
vibe,
no,
right?
I lived in the South all of my life.
But then I was always wondering why you're so polite.
Yeah.
But
and why I'm so
so
rude
genteel
and so rude, so genteelly rude.
But it's got but New York must have had some draw, obviously, other than the artistic history and the
all right, so
and the rats and the cockroaches.
We're back to film. We're back to film. I started watching old movies when I was 11 or 12 years old, like old MGM musicals. I was particularly fond of Fred Astaire. And
good dancer.
Greta Garbo had a certain je ne sais quoi, She's
got a couple of those.
Yeah, right? And then again, I was gay, so
that
being in the South is not a good place to be, especially at that time when you were gay.
Even in the North?
No, in New York it was fine.
So you found much more acceptance here.
and much more job opportunity and much more, and I wanted to go into film.
But people wouldn't give you jobs in the South because you were gay.
Oh, fuck yeah.
They'd just be like, we're not dealing with this lady or whoever.
Yeah, well, like I was working in Dallas at a cine processor, as a cine processor.
Yeah,
I was running a fucking 90-foot machine.
Yeah.
And I wrote to the film labs in Nashville because I was moving to Nashville, all of the photo labs, and said, I'm coming and I'm looking for a job.
Yeah.
And everywhere I went, they said, you should go apply at Photo Guild. And I'm like,
okay.
And I had sent Photo Guild a letter too, and I had an appointment with them, but it was kind of last on my list.
That's weird. Why
and they didn't, well, because it was full of lesbians. And they hired me on the spot and created a job for me.
So in a way, it's like, yeah, go with your own, I guess. But then also, that's not really like integrated.
No. And at that time, that was my lesbian separatist phase, so it was okay.
Oh, what's the lesbian separatist phase?
It's like, I would not be talking to you.
What? Damn. Wait,
pointless.
Just because of me.
Pointless. Pointless. Pointless.
Because of the thing.
Yeah, pointless. Because of that,
rough.
because of the
That's
white
rough.
man attitude, because of the patriarchy, because of, no.
No mas me, huh?
No. Too many women to hang out with.
Yeah, you're like, yo. Was there same thing in the gay community for like gay guys? They're like, you know what? We're not going to hang out with chicks anymore.
That changed.
Only
that changed. I mean, gay bars used to be segregated.
Right. You wouldn't.
There were no girls in the boy bars. They wouldn't let you fucking in.
No shit.
No
so
shit.
It was like, fuck off.
Like,
we are not doing this.
We're not doing this. We're in different economic brackets.
And we're talking about this is in the South or in this New York
This is
City?
in the South, and this is pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
70s, early 80s. AIDS.
Ooh.
United the community because the women, the lesbians had been involved in the women's movement and doing all of that activity, and the gay guys were just like making money and having fun. And then it's like, oh fuck, we need some organizational skills. And so that's when ACT UP and those inclusive organizations were formed. And but now still, every bar is a fucking gay bar. You wouldn't go to like, any bar down Bedford Avenue or in New York in the 80s that was not gay. You wouldn't go in there with your crew because people would treat you weird. Although we did go to that like Hell's Angels bar on 4th Street a lot because they were cool.
Oh, what was that one? Oh, fuck.
The Edge.
Right, the Edge. I mean,
I played pool with the Hell's Angels in there.
I don't know anything. I don't know. I remember something of it. I never walked in.
But my soccer team, they're like the gay girls from the soccer team, we would go there on the way out, and they were fine with us because we were cute back then. So one of the first gay pride events that I ever attended was in Nashville, and what it was a boat cruise in the middle of the night up the Cumberland.
All right.
This is our gay pride celebration where nobody can fucking see it.
Yeah. I mean,
there's nobody gay in small town.
There's lots of gay people. There's always gay people.
The other thing with AIDS, in terms of gay recognition or queer recognition, we'll get back to the labeling in a minute.
Yeah, sure. The queer thing.
All of that bullshit. Was that when AIDS was at its height and people were sick and dying. I mean, I stopped making friends with gay guys in the 80s, in like the late 80s, because everybody I knew was dead.
Wow.
Like, they just fucking dropped like flies.
That's fucked up.
But all those families who had been pretending that it didn't exist ended up losing someone important to them. And so then the recognition of, this is a lifestyle, and we had nothing against that person. We love that person. We're so sorry that they're gone. Brought out more compassion, more understanding, more acceptance in the society as a whole.
And I think when I was coming up in the early 90s, whatever, it was nothing to us. Like, I mean, especially the bands we were got into, I could see where like gangster rap when that came up, I don't think people would accept it if that was your first record. If your first record was Dr. Dre, you're probably not going to, you know what I mean?
My first 45 was Killer Queen by Queen.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I've been gay all my life, evidently.
My first tape was Raising Hell, Run DMC.
Oh.
But those guys weren't really like...
They weren't gangster rap.
That wasn't gangster. That was
dance.
That was B-boy.
That was hip-hop.
Yeah, and then I got into the Beastie Boys out there. But then, Raised by Chicks, then my next one was Paul Abdul, and then, then we went that way, George Michael.
Straight up.
Who, by the way, like, George Michael's the shit. Can we just I know it's cheesy to some people.
Well,
that was so great. Can you imagine, like, a bunch of us, like, thinking we were tough
all right, well,
boys
it's like
George Michael?
It's like that Queen biopic. No, he's a self-loathing gay.
I didn't see that. I didn't get that.
Yeah, well, you got to be sensitive to this shit.
I try to be.
Yeah, but watch it again. He's self-loathing.
I mean, I've known some self-loathing gays in my time, and he just seemed like he was getting rich. I mean, I think he's probably just loathed. I don't know if I think he just loathed. It's a matter of just being an artist, I think. I think it went deeper than just sexuality. I think it went to, like, the uselessness of culture.
Really, it's a Hollywood movie, and it goes deeper than sexuality?
No, you're right. I know. We want more from our movies. I'm telling you.
We want them to live up to their
Chico,
fucking
Chico.
promise. You know,
tell me about this queer thing.
medium.
Like,
all right, so
I don't understand.
So
because,
when I came out, I was.
And what year is all this? Just I hate to be
1977. 1977.
Okay. See,
in college.
I don't know anything about this. I always think you're 28.
Yeah.
So I look at him like, just looks 28.
I was awesome at
28.
But yeah, so I came out in 77. So that's God knows how many years ago, 45 something. There weren't that many people out.
Right.
The whole thing. I mean, Stonewall had happened a few years before, so there was a burgeoning gay movement.
Yeah.
One of the things that here's a story.
Yeah.
1977, toward the end of the term, in November, in Houston, there was the International Women's Year Conference. So I went as a representative from my school, a representative at large, not a voting delegate or anything. So I'm 18 years old. I'm in the room in the plenary when they pass the sexual preference issue. 5,000, there's 20,000 women in the room, 5,000 women who are lesbians get up and start dancing and releasing balloons going, "We are everywhere."
Wow.
And so all that shit my mom had told me about lesbians are unhappy people when she found me hanging out with him at the motorcycle track went up in smoke. I've
never seen that.
I went back to college. I went back to college that night and was in the TV room. There was a girl there, and she was watching the Quentin Crisp autobiography on PBS, Naked Civil Servant. It's about a transvestite in England. And Quentin Crisp, you know who Quentin Crisp is, right? He was a Lower East Side.
Born 1977.
No, he was in the Lower East Side for years.
I mean, I probably.
He used to do shows with Penny Arcade.
I know that from like the Andy Warhol.
Yeah,
crew.
he did a Broadway show.
So we're gonna go buy some.
Yeah,
more of these
okay. He did a Broadway show called Naked Civil Servant, or Resident Alien was the name of the Broadway show, and then they did this documentary, or they did this dramatization of his life with John Hurt called The Naked Civil Servant. So
nice.
It's really nice BBC production.
John Hurt, huh?
Yeah,
he's great
with red hair. Lovely thing. So that's on the television, and I meet this girl when I get back from the IWY, and I've decided that lesbianism is not the wrong choice for me.
Well, yeah, and so that's a coming out experience, and like I feel better this way.
So yes, she became my first girlfriend.
Oh, see, that's important to know when.
But it happened.
To feel good about it.
It happened.
But also,
there's always catalyst. I mean, I seem to be in places that things change.
I wonder why.
Well, I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama in the 1960s.
That's what I'm saying. No, because your energy just has that when I say combative, I mean explosive, maybe. But not even that. And forgive the earlier things. Chico's never elbowed me in the face once.
Not yet.
Oh, no. Okay, call 911, guys.
Yeah.
Wherever you're listening this from, if it's in 3 years from now.
So I grew up in Birmingham, and we had, of course, the worst racial violence in the country in Birmingham when I was a small child. Went to one of the first integrated classes, started questioning Christianity. I remember being an atheist at 8 because the whole Bible Belt bullshit and racism walking hand in hand made no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So then we go to Texas. I live in a little town called Jasper, Texas, which I wasn't living there when this happened, but I've lived there when they, decapitated that black man behind a pickup truck in 98.
Do you recall that?
Yeah, all these fucking places. I'm in New York and 9/11. Like, I just seem to be in places. But like I said, I went to the IWI. That was a catalyst personally because I got over my inhibition and, found a girlfriend.
Well, that's what it is too. It's I explained this in this podcast before. Like when one of my gay friends was like trying, I think he was coming out, right? I've already explained this already. Like this, my audience, they listen to him.
I guess all of his friends gay.
And they'd be like, "What does he only have gay friends? Doesn't he have any?
Doesn't he have any straight friends?
Why straight white male? Doesn't he have any? Doesn't he have any he could play with like himself?" No, but like he.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that slide.
It's awesome. No, he came. He was. He was a gay dude, but we couldn't mention anything in the '90s. We all knew we had gay friends. We just never talked about it. Occasionally, there'd be like a funny.
No, I'm wearing
a jest or whatever. You know what I mean?
I remember wearing my Dyke TV hat on the subway.
Yeah, but you were more baller than. You
and like 3 black high school kids are like, "Oh, lesbian." I'm like, "Yeah, it says so on the fucking hat."
What's up, this son?
That's what the hat says. Like when I came out, we were gay and lesbian.
That's what. Right. Gay and lesbian.
Gay and lesbian, or we were queer. People called us queer.
What was the difference?
Well, queer now evidently is. I had a queer roommate at Sutton Street, but he slept with women and ended up marrying a woman and having a baby. But he also slept with guys.
Bisexual.
Yeah, that's what he was calling queer.
Okay.
All right. So.
But when you're coming up, gay.
All right, but gay and lesbian. That's it. First March on Washington, gay and lesbian March on Washington. In 1988, I had the T-shirt. Then sometime in the 90s, and like women were either butcher femme or androgynous.
So now there's more labels now.
And then in the 90s it becomes boy, it becomes like BOI, it becomes all this other crap. And then of course the trans stuff started when the Berlin Wall fell and glasnost, because in the Eastern Bloc it was more acceptable to be transsexual than to be queer. So all those people came out of the East Bloc into San Francisco, and then we have a wave of transsexualism and operations that are starting to happen.
Now, when you say operations, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about people changing their sex through medical procedures.
Okay. But
not just being transvestites.
Right. And what year?
Well, the boom, as you will call it, or as I will call it, started after glasnost. After the Eastern Bloc opened up.
Okay.
That's when there started to be more and more transsexuals. Now, there were always some, and I knew some in Dallas, male to female, not too many female to male. Didn't really know about that yet. But so you start getting all these labels in the 90s, boy,
and that's BOI.
BOI and all that. And then you're lesbian, gay, and bi. And then you're lesbian, gay, and bi, and transgendered. Then LGBTQ. And then you're lesbian, gay, bi, transgendered, and queer. And now this last year, they added plus IA. I had to go fucking look it up. Now, I've been queer since...
I don't know what that is.
Right. It's intersex and... something intersex, which is more like hermaphrodite, and asexual or ally. It has a bunch of different meanings.
It's become quite specific.
Well, it includes everybody in the fucking world now, which is why the Gay Pride Parade is full of, families, yuppies with their kids. Part of being queer back then
Sure.
was not to contribute to a patriarchal society or a society.
Because I hear these words thrown around right now.
Yes, but it was a political choice,
Right.
as well as a physical choice.
But it starts with physical. Because
I don't know. This is a more philosophical issue and a personal philosophical issue.
Yeah. But
In that I think most of society is fucked up and wrong.
all of it.
And I've felt this way since I was a small child.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. This ain't right.
Got it.
Whatever they're telling me, that's not true.
Right.
And I think a lot of that problem is from, these well-defined sex roles.
Right. But you would say you bring it back to that.
Yeah.
Like roles, like sex roles?
Like sex roles in
Like,
society.
you're this, so you got to be that.
Like,
and then if you're
well,
this, okay.
you got to remember, I grew up in the 60s, so,
Right.
there were
Right
nuclear
out of
families,
Eisenhower, right out of
Nixon.
Right
I
after
saw
Kennedy, yeah.
I saw MLK shot. I saw JFK shot. I saw MLK shot. I saw Bobby shot. I saw Malcolm X shot, but it didn't really get much national coverage.
Yeah, it's funny about X.
Funny about that.
Funny enough, my favorite black leader.
Yeah.
He wouldn't like me either. Like back in the day, I mean, like I want to help. But
I think after Mecca, Malcolm X
after Mecca maybe, but
came to a humanist perspective on life. But so in a humanist perspective on life, there's no room for chauvinism. There's no room for racism. Because if you're living outside of this society for a political purpose, why the fuck do you want to join it?
So that's what I'm trying to get to. It's like, so not only was it a sexual decision, not sexual decision, but a sexual want, but then a decision on top of that to say, well, you guys never were with us.
Plenty
so
of gay
fuck you.
people got married and had, awful lives
Sure.
where they were miserable, and especially men get married and are on the DL. You actually go to the Gay Pride Parade and you go to the fireworks down by the river, you're going to see all of these African American couples that look like straight people and have straight jobs.
Yeah.
And nobody knows.
Yeah. Still.
So the whole gay movement in its beginnings in the 70s was about coming out. And then in the 90s, it was about outing the motherfuckers who were still too chicken shit.
Well, that sounds like to me a little more violent and cynical.
Well, especially if it's a congressman or somebody who is like proposing anti-gay legislature and then picking up people in the bathroom.
That has never made. That
that motherfucker. Somebody needs to know about him.
Why are there more? There's so many more Republican gays out there, and actually now.
Well,
I'm really excited about this now.
Republican, not just gay, but picking up little girls, like all kinds of bullshit.
Well, the kid thing, I'm pretty hard line on it.
All right, so back in the 90s, when everybody had to have their fucking labels of what they fucking were.
Not like now, of course.
Yeah, well, I came up with one then, which is probably now archaic. But I'm a Marxist, socialist, lesbian, transvestite.
Not bad. Well, you look pretty good for 38 with all those labels. The backpack must be heavy.
But people are still defining themselves by their sexuality first.
Right, and I find that odd because
or their race first. And
right.
And it really is where, I mean, I guess is that what do they call that? A Freudian slip.
Ooh.
In that you put them in order of importance.
To the individual or to society?
To yourself, when you define yourself.
Right.
So I'm a Marxist.
Okay, first.
Socialist.
Okay.
Lesbian.
Okay.
Transvestite.
Got it. But what I'm talking about, what it's fascinating to me.
And everybody else is African American, poet.
Well, they're doing the same thing you're doing.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing
I guess
I'm doing.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is...
But I guess I'm starting with ideology rather than identity.
I don't know what you're doing. But my question, I introduced myself as Matthew.
Mm. Well, no, I'm just talking about...
See what I'm saying? Like, I don't...
No, we were talking about labels and how you had to label yourself in the gay community.
Of course, which I find interesting. That's why I'm saying at this time, after all of these kind of battles and ideas, when you look around now...
You remember all those personal ads in the back of the Voice and all the little abbreviations, and sometimes the fucking thing was this long hyphen with like slash marks between a bunch of shit.
Basically, it's like an order form on Seamless.
It is. It is. It's a menu.
Kind of like my Chinese food without as much Chinese in it, but I like a little bit. But then I'm kind of, slash peppers are good, but only like green peppers, spicy maybe, but only if you grew up in Arkansas. Then I'll take red peppers.
Right, looking for hoppa pansexual.
Did you say papa?
I said hoppa.
He said pop-up pansexual.
Which is,
over here, the pop-up pansexual.
Half Asian Pacific.
So what do you see in the future after we've now put everybody in categories? We got them all down.
Well, no, I mean,
like, how do we, like,
how do we decategorize?
My fear is that it's almost like robots.
Well, it's like one-issue politics.
Leanne, let me finish, all right? It almost is like we're coming down to these small little things, like almost like code, like coding that we could say, or this, and this, and then if you like that person or not. And so
don't we hashtag that on Twitter?
I think it's a death of language, and as a writer and a person who cares very much about language and sentences and the things that we've been working with, I don't want to see the death of language come from I am this, and this, and this. Compute, not compute, move on, and it becomes so mechanical. This is the shit that I worry about, because the more we start getting into these little details of what we are. Now, what's crazy about this is, that's why I said you were aware of the past. You just gave us, as listeners, amazing information about this. And we've been listening to it, and I'm listening to it.
All right, so
I fear the future. What do you think about the future?
The Marxist, socialist, lesbian, transvestite thing was actually a joke on the fact that everybody had to have fucking labels and a series of labels.
Now they do.
Well, now they do, but that was my joke. No, that was my joke back then.
But now it's serious.
And it's still a joke. But
because you're dope.
It's a joke. I'm serious about the order and all that, but I don't give a fuck. The whole thing is humanism. Because you and I are friends.
Of course.
We've been friends for years.
I think I'm more of like, I consider you more of a, I consider you like an army person.
Like, yeah, well, I know a lot of people find both of us annoying.
First of all, no one finds me annoying.
Yeah.
And if you know anybody who does, name them on the mic. And if they do find me annoying, they are more than welcome to come and join KTCR every Thursday night.
Well,
right after your local Twilight Zone episode with Rod Serling III.
All right. I'm sure the people who find me annoying are easy for me to avoid.
I've never found you annoying once. Fuck, we're going on what? But it's got to be 15 years.
At least. Because you had just moved to town.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you respect me? You don't seem like a person who... You don't seem like a person who... Not respect. I don't want any empty compliments here.
No, it's not.
I don't want any of this shit.
It's not even an empty compliment.
We don't do this.
All right, so the first night we met...
Sure.
Right? We did that thing where I said I got a story, and you're like, yeah. And then I told you a story, and then you said, oh, that is a good story. And then you called me, and then we worked on the story. And we completed a story, and it was good.
Facts, kids. Facts.
It was really good. Made people cry. Too much.
So what else? What else do you like about me? What else? Obviously, because I'm a total dick.
No, we were able to chat, and we were able to. All right. A lot of people are very, very sensitive.
They are.
So you can't have an ideological disagreement.
True.
And work through And you can still come out the other end going, yeah, I don't believe you.
No.
But it's okay. It's not, it really is an intellectual exercise rather than a personal affront.
That's all for this week. Good stuff. Man, Season 2, Episode 1. I am so happy. About to close out the year 2022. It's been a hell of a doozy these last 3 ones. I hope all of you have a wonderful holiday. Keep strong in the new year. 2023 will be better. I promise. And we promise. Here at Kill the Cat Radio. I'm Matthew Diabate. Stay curious. See you next time.